Hey there. So this is going to be kind of a sort of follow-up to the video that I put up last week on YouTube. Last week I talked about backing tracks, and I kind of posed the question, is using backing tracks in a live setting cheating? I think it's situational, personally. I think that it's not cheating as long as the tracks in question are only supplementing elements of the live show that can't be duplicated otherwise live, or that are just reinforcing certain things. I emphasized in that video that no one on stage is faking it. At least in my personal experience with the bands that I've been touring with for years, no one is faking it on stage. No one's playing a guitar that's not actually coming out of the PA. You know, I'm not playing a fake drum set. The singers are not lip syncing, kind of thing. It's everybody on stage is actually performing 100% of their parts live. Tracks may be used to supplement things that, for example, maybe the band doesn't have a keyboard player, but they have a song or two that has some keyboard elements to it. Maybe there's a particular drum part, which I didn't talk about this in the last video. Maybe there's a particular drum part that can't be done without the aid of having 4 arms or having a second drummer on stage. There is one song in particular that I'm talking about specifically. It has not been released yet, but when it is released, people will understand why you need 2 drummers to play this part. And when I recorded that song for this band, I recorded my drum parts separately. I recorded just the drum set part sitting right here where you see me now. And then there's a marching snare drum cadence that overlays on the intro of the song. That I recorded separately with a marching snare drum over there, right off camera. I can't do both parts live unless we have a second drummer come up on stage and play that marching snare cadence. We can't afford to bring a second drummer on tour with us to come out on stage and play 8 measures of a song every night and then go back off stage. It's just not economical. So we took that marching snare drum part that I recorded, we put it on the backing track, and then everybody wins. It's on the track, and I can play the drum set part underneath it. Things like that. I think that's perfectly fine. Now, I had some people actually write me and request that I talk a little bit more on the tech side of backing tracks and talk about my actual setup of how I run the tracks to front of house for a live show. So I thought I'd get a little nerdy and a little tech talk with you on this stuff and kind of walk you through how I actually run my backing tracks. Now, sometimes they're run off different devices that actually house the files for the tracks, but my personal monitor rig that I use for everything remains the same, no matter what. And it's all stored right in this coffin case right here. I use this particular case because it's small, it's compact, it's easy to throw in the car or carry on a plane, or even fit in some larger duffel bags or suitcases for flying for gigs and stuff like that. And it will protect all of the equipment inside. So I'm going to switch to camera view, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how I run backing tracks in a live show. Okay, inside this coffin case, right, has a 5-channel mixer plus all the appropriate cables that I need for running tracks. Now, I know there's a bit of a glare with the overhead light. I apologize for that. The lighting in my studio is not optimal for this sort of thing. Okay, so this is just the power supply, and I use this area to store all of my cables, plus my in-ear monitors, which are now broken. No, now they're right here. Okay, so that stuff goes in there. I also have, and this is the most important thing, a 5-channel small analog mixer. Okay, fits right in here perfectly. So This is going to be key for everything, all right? So what I run tracks off of can be a few different things. Some bands will have all their tracks loaded onto a laptop, right? And they'll be running a session out of Logic or Pro Tools, or Ableton is kind of a go-to thing, especially if you are having lighting cues and smoke machines that are programmed and everything like that. The laptop will be needed for all of that sort of thing. What you do is there's a few different ways to do it. You can line the laptop directly to this mixer, right? Now, if you're programming lights and everything else, it's probably going to be, the laptop's probably going to be hardwired to other devices, probably a Behringer X Air unit or something like that, which there's one of those in this room also. You can't really see it. It is inside there. Those are the digital mixers. But old school ways of doing it too is you can just take the headphone output jack and plug it into one of these channels right here. Okay. Or more importantly, you're going to plug it into a split cable, right? You can also run tracks that are just mono off of an old phone. I use this particular phone right here for a number of different bands that only run their tracks in mono. Okay, so what you have is you have a stereo MP3 file, and that MP3 file, one side of it will be a click track for the drummer. The other side of it will be the mixed mono backing track. What you do is you use one of these stereo split cables, right? Now, one side of the cable is going to be suitable for a headphone jack, so that can plug right into the phone, or it can plug into the headphone out on your laptop, right? So, I can't do this with one hand. Sorry, I'm holding the phone. So, this goes into the device. The other end of this cable splits that signal, okay? So, here's the other end of the cable, right? The click is on one side, and I have them labeled so I don't mix them up. Click, and then the track is on the other. So drummer needs to hear the click. So what I'm going to do is plug that into this channel right up here. Now that puts the click on this knob. So this is the volume for the click. And I will hear it in both of my ears, not just the left ear or the right ear. I'll hear it in both of my ears. Okay? This channel is the track. This goes to a DI box. Okay? So we have XLR out on one end, and then we have an in and out 1/4 inch on this end. So this is going to get plugged into here. Right? Boom. So now I have the click track going to the mixer, and I have the audio tracks going to front of house. Your sound guy will plug in an XLR cable right there, and then they have 100% independent control over the levels on that backing track for the PA system. Now, personally, I like to hear more than just a click track. I like to hear the tracks as well, and I like to mix them myself. So, how do you do that without disrupting what front of house is going to do? That's where the output 1/4 inch out on this DI box comes in. Okay, so I take a small 1/4 inch cable like this one right here, instrument patch cable. That plugs into the output on the DI. Okay, the other end of it, I stick on the next channel on the mixer, right? Now I have this knob right here, that's the click track, and this knob right here, that's the backing track. And I can mix the volumes independently, and it will only affect what I'm hearing in my ears, right? Click track, backing track. So I can have this as loud as I need it to, and this as loud as I need it to. Now, I also like to hear the band on stage, because as we established, no one on stage is faking it. They're actually playing. I want to hear them. I also want to hear myself, okay? That's what these first two channels are for, okay? So I politely ask whoever is running the monitors to give me a line that's just the drums, right? These have XL, this mixer, channel 1 and 2 have XLR ins. So that's easiest for sound techs to work with because they're always going to have XLRs. So I'll give them this cable and say, give me just my drums, kick, snare, and some toms on that channel. Now this one right here is just drums. Then for the next channel over, same thing, but I ask for the rest of the live band. So now I plug that one in, give this end to my sound tech, and say, on this one, give me just guitar and bass. I usually, whoops, don't hit my hi-hat. I usually don't put lead vocals in my ears ever. It's usually just guitar and bass, mostly bass, because I want to hear my bass player. A little bit of guitar. So now on my mixer, I have drums, guitar and bass, click, backing track. And I can mix all of these myself however I need. And then, this is the most important cable that often gets overlooked. A headphone cable. This is an extension cable. This is 10 feet. I put a little clip on it so I can clip it to the back of my pants or the belt loop on my pants, right? So it doesn't get pulled. And then, the other end of it, which I just dropped, and it's 10 feet onto the coiled up underneath my foot now. The other end of it, and I'm hitting everything. Oh my God, this video is going to be a mess. Goes into the headphone out right there. Okay? So I take the headphone out from here and plug my in-ears into this with this clipped on the back of my pants. Right? That way I got 10 feet on here. I can stand up and I don't have any danger of yanking my ears out of the mixer. I do have danger of yanking my ears out of the mixer if I forget that I have this on and I walk away from the drums, which I have done on numerous occasions. And then you realize it when the cable yanks you, or worse, you dump this whole thing off stage by accident, or you rip your ears out and all of a sudden you have no sound in your ears anymore. So anyway, enough about my mistakes on stage. So, running an iPhone, an iPod, or a laptop to here and here, running this back to here, running the band into here, and then you have independent control on everything you want to hear. And it doesn't affect front of house because they are taking a direct feed of your tracks from this DI box. Now, what happens if you have a show where not every song has backing tracks, some of them don't, and you still want to play with a click? Or you play with a band that doesn't use any tracks, but you still play live to a click. I work with 2 different bands right now that there are no tracks at all, but they still use a click track live just for me. Well, in that case, you don't need these track lines, and because you're not running tracks, right? And so you can run an external metronome into one of these lines, like a Tama rhythm watch or a phone that has a metronome app on it or something like that. And you can run that into one of these lines and then you'll have your click track. Now, if you're working with a band that has tracks on some things and no tracks on other ones, what I do is I will have an external metronome. I use a Tama rhythm watch. I've had it for 20-something years. I will drop that in this box too because it fits right here perfectly. And I will run a cable from that to one of these channels here. That does mean I have to say, if this is a 5-channel mixer, I have to sacrifice one of these lines. I don't want to sacrifice the click from the backing tracks. I don't want to sacrifice the backing tracks. I will sacrifice one of these 2 lines here, and I will have the band and the drums mixed together on here. And then I will put the external click here, the click for the backing tracks here, and then the tracks there kind of thing. So that way I have 2 click channels, one that's for the songs without tracks and one that's for the songs with the tracks. The one without the tracks, I control it myself from the external metronome. So hopefully that clears everything up for everybody. If anybody still has any questions about how to run backing tracks using a system like this, or maybe a different method, because there's many different methods to do it. This is just the simplest, easiest, old school way of doing it, and it's pretty reliable. If anybody has any questions, please drop it in the comments below, or you're welcome to email me or send me a direct message on social media. I hate doing this part because it's stupid, but like, please like this video, share this video, drop something in the comments, help boost the algorithm. I'd like to get this sort of information out to more musicians, specifically that might have questions about this sort of thing. I've actually gone over this exact layout, not in video form, but just with photos and a phone call to many drummer friends in the past, so I figure I might as well make a video and then just send them the video, right? Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk again soon. Peace.